Good morning, everyone. Karen Danielle from Karen Danielle Leadership here today, and I'm really excited to share with you one of the first things I learned at Neuro Leadership Institute in maintaining focus and where you want to put that energy. Right? We all know time and energy, very, very limited resources or valuable resources. And what's awesome is we're seeing kind of the coaching perspective and that approach become more and more embraced in the workplace. And I, for one, am thrilled to see that because we're trying something new. We're leveraging something different. We're leveraging how people learn and taking that into consideration. And we're really starting to pay attention to people's individual gifts and strengths and asking if they're able to use that at work, and if they are, how can we double down on those? Right? Gary Vaynerchuk, you hear him say that all the time, double down on your strengths. So it's pretty cool time, and I thought this would be kind of neat to share with you. It was one of the foundational kind of trains of thought that to help you once you kind of wrap your mind around this. It can guide you in a lot of ways. So for me, it's very foundational, and I go to it often when I'm trying to figure out my next approach on something. So when we're talking about energy and focus and where we want to put these 5 levels of focus is what NLI calls it, Neuro Leadership Institute. And it reminds us where we want to be when we're having conversations with direct reports, when we're thinking of how we want the quarter to end or the year, or when you're even in your own personal life, just thinking of how you want a conversation with your kid to go, your spouse, things like that. It's really taking every amount of effort to put the end result fresh in your mind, and it reminds you to have a conversation that flows in that way. Okay, so that might sound all kind of for a sec, but stick with me on this. Okay, so the first level of focus, and this is where we want to be all the time. We kind of say it's at the penthouse. This is where we want to attack first, if you will, right? If there's a problem we're looking to solve, then we really want to come at it from a visionary point of view. Okay? And the first 3 steps I put on here, you're going to be like, yeah, of course, right? Of course. But it's how we go about these first 3 steps that's really the key behind this. So, right, visionary, it's emotionally based. Okay, that's what drives vision, is that there's that emotional power behind it. I hope you can see that. It says emotion. But there's that emotional driver that trumps everything. Because when it really gets hard and challenging, we have to be reminded of that, and that's usually some kind of emotional. For a company, it's their purpose. Really, their mission and purpose is very emotionally driven. It's value driven. Okay, so when you're coming from a visionary place, when you're asking questions, one of the first questions I'll ask one of my clients, and this is the same that would be one of your direct reports, one of your managers. What does success look like in this area? Let's pinpoint that first, and then we know what our target is. And I know that sounds simple, but if you take this approach as starting with that question, that line of questioning first in the conversation, you're talking about something that's exciting, something positive. You're tapping into that energy that's surrounding that goal. And that puts your direct report, or it puts your client in a toward state. It's a positive experience that they're talking about right now. They're not feeling threatened that you're going to come at them with what they did wrong or something like that. It takes a lot of the nervousness out of the conversation if it's a feedback one, or if it's a problem that they feel responsible for, stuff like that. Or if this is just something you want to solve, it puts the team in a state of wanting to solve it because you're talking about that reward. So that's why the important of how this conversation is actually laid out is very key. Okay, so after vision, once you've got that emotion and you've got that toward state, everyone's excited. That's what we're going for. You want to then move on to planning, because planning can provide certainty. We need to know what we're doing to get there. We need to know what the steps are. Right? So let's start talking about that. Let's lay out a little bit of a plan, right? Planning. So again, it seems common sense, but it's the order that is again important. The third one, detail. From a coaching perspective, we got to be really careful with this, right? Because we have a saying that detail is interesting but not useful. And you can spend a lot of time in detail. And everyone knows that sometimes with feedback conversations, that's part of the hesitancy to have them, is because they can be so long and drawn out, right? Because you're spending too much time here in detail. You're focusing on what you've done that hasn't worked, or whatever problems have kind of come up, which is the next one, but that is always usually unveiled in detail. And while again, it's not really useful at this, if you start here with a conversation with a direct report, it's just going to be a lot of emotion that could potentially be negative emotion. And so you're sabotaging this other two areas by starting here. So again, interesting, kind of need to know it sometimes. In some areas it's, necessary to bring up. But again, order is what we're looking for here, okay? The fourth one is problem. Again, an area you can, as I'm sure you're betting on, is an area to be mindful of. You can approach a problem from a toward state, is what I like to call when people are in that good feeling of being able to contribute. They're feeling it's a safe place. That's what that toward state means. So problem has its place, and you can, if you're facing a problem from a toward state, even the way you're thinking of it is going to be different than if you started in detail, and detail's gonna kind of give you a downward slope as to how you're gonna attack problem. Okay, so again, be mindful of its effect when you start talking about the problem area. All right, again, it depends on the perspective. The last level, I'm just gonna write perspective here. The last level, bottom floor kind of stuff, no one's going to be surprised to see that, but it's drama, okay? And the reason why drama, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on drama, right? We all know workplace drama and how that can weigh people down, but drama is a very negative, emotionally charged state, or it's like coming from a place of hopelessness in a way, right? It's just, the word itself is exhausting. So anything that comes along with that is going to probably be a lot of baggage, is really what that comes down to. Again, interesting, sometimes funny, sometimes we just can't help ourselves. We want to know, of course, what the drama is, but separate conversation, right? Not in a vision or planning area. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see the trail here. I'll definitely bullet point some stuff down below. But like I said, I'm really excited to see the coaching kind of philosophies be more and more present in management styles. And this is a key foundational piece. It was for me, and it's just a great reminder. It can help keep more of your conversations in a toward state for you and for your team and for the results. It's one of those things that it just compounds itself. It just gets better and better. And the more you get used to coming from that point of view and having conversations that start here, vision, planning, detail, those are the three I want you to kind of focus on, always kind of being in, but always starting with vision or planning at the very least, right? Because sometimes talking about planning can open up that other end at higher level as well. But you got to start there. Okay, and I promise you, your conversations you have will be much more fruitful, and it's just going to open up a new way of thinking in general for you. Thanks so much, everyone. I hope this helps. Enjoy. Again, I always like to hear how it went into effect and if you tried it, and hopefully you'll start paying attention to those little subtle nuance, little shifts that can bring about some big change in the conversations and in the state of your team. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day today.